Nick is in Pendergrass, Georgia. I'll be in Georgia later tonight, Nick. Got a long drive ahead of me. Anyway, Nick said, if you had to hop on the Ramen Noodle Express early and lay some money on a dark horse candidate for the Heisman Trophy, who would it be? Xavier Worthy, plus 10,000 odds. 43rd best odds in the country to win the Heisman. That, Nick, is the player that I'd go bet some money on. And I know that because I already have and got a little bit better odds even than that. He was third in the Big 12 in drops last year. He dropped 6% of the balls thrown his way. I think he'll rectify that this year because I think injury had a lot to do with that last year. And he didn't really talk about it publicly. But I'm here to represent him, so I'm talking about it for him. Xavier Worthy has the same odds to win the Heisman as Hudson Card and Nico Iamaleava, who's not even going to start at quarterback for Tennessee. The injury last season, I think, watered down these odds to where I'm taking advantage of it. And let me also remind those of you out there who say, wide receiver, it's almost impossible for them to win the Heisman. That's true. Almost impossible. But there is an exception to the rule, right? Everyone remembers Devontae Smith. Does everyone remember who his OC was, though? Anyone remember who kept dialing up ball after ball after ball to the tune of 117 catches for over 1,800 yards and 23 touchdowns in only 13 games, facing an all-SEC schedule in 2020? That would be Steve Sarkisian calling those plays for Devontae Smith. There will be a casual or two who takes away from this show. Josh just compared Worthy to Devontae Smith, which of course I didn't do. What I said is if there is a receiver on this particular roster that is positioned well enough to benefit from Steve Sarkisian the way Devontae Smith did, I think it's Worthy. And you are outside your mind if you think there are 43 players more likely to win the Heisman Trophy this year than him. So I think those are good odds. I'm taking them. But I'm not done yet. Let's just go talk about Joe Milton some more. Joe Milton, again, this is a long shot market. This is a dark horse market. If we really are entering an era where any Josh Heupel quarterback is instantly going to be in the mix and he just works magic up there and every one of them throws for 4,000 yards, Joe Milton sitting there at plus 2,200 odds to win the Heisman, the 12th best odds, should be top 10, if that's the case. It's a nice little coin flip prospect there for me. Hendon Hooker belonged in New York City last year. Travesty after travesty gets committed on that stage. Got a good wide receiver core. We talked about it earlier in the show. Perfect offense. And here's what else you need to keep in mind. I detest the phrase Heisman moment. I think it's a joke. But this is an award that writers vote on, so for many reasons, I'm not going down that road. But if you want your precious Heisman moment, need I remind you who they play the second to last week of the year? The University of Georgia rolls into town. Hendon Hooker arrived on the national scene full scale when they took down Alabama and they hung half 100 on them in Neyland last year. We should know. We were there, right in the midst of it. Smoke inhalation on the field in an outdoor venue. It was so thick. Unbelievable. Well, if that were to happen, or anything remotely close to that were to happen, and Tennessee took down Georgia late in the year, and it was Joe Milton hanging 38 on Georgia, what would that do for a late season Heisman push? How about that for a late season Heisman moment? And lastly, yes, I have a third dark horse for the Heisman. This young man has plus 3,000 odds next to his name. He is the 16th player on the odds board, and that would be OU quarterback Dillon Gabriel. Same kind of odds as Blake Corum and Quinshawn Judkins. Those are the two highest-ranked running backs in the Heisman odds market. So that's the kind of shot Vegas has given Dillon Gabriel. Everything's just more settled with Oklahoma this year. I have to count on that. I also have to count on the wide receiver core really stepping up for him. Like one of the big questions around OU is, do they have a true wide receiver one out there? Well, if Dillon Gabriel plays at a high level, those things sort of help settle each other, or those settle each other's questions, I guess. They have 8 games last year. I'm looking at his last year's stats. He had 8 games where he had multiple passing touchdowns, and he had injury that took him out of the Texas game entirely last year, and they got blanked. Gabriel's capable of being in this conversation. And if, of course, this is a dark horse, that means we're taking a risk. I am taking a calculated risk that OU as a team sort of turns the snow. It sort of turns the hourglass. The sand starts going the other direction from what it was going last year, and they're not losing the close games. In fact, they're getting margin on people, and he's one of the big reasons why. And as a result, OU is right in the thick of the Big 12 title race, and they're right in the thick of the playoff conversation. Maybe they beat Texas. Who knows? If they do, though, any of those things, it'll be due in large part to Dillon Gabriel, and that will mean those plus 3,000 numbers out there right now would disappear quickly. So I want to grab them while I can. Xavier Worthy, my favorite Heisman dark horse, but I'll also take some Joe Milton and Dillon Gabriel.